make your research proposal interesting. Make your research proposal something that people would say, wow, we would like to have this student at our master program. It's really interesting. You've never actually thought about this before. Of course, not everything what is interesting for you will be interesting for your professors, but you can always draw on the contemporary issues. You can study gender in ancient literature, or you can study politics, migration. These topics are quite relevant for the current time, and let's say they are not that well discussed in the scholarship as well. They gain popularity, but they are still something that you can research on. MPhil proposal, as any research proposal, is in a way a dream. It's something that you imagine to happen, but not necessarily will happen. So you try to dream in a more or less realistic way in your research proposals, not only MPhil proposal, but also doctoral proposal and postdoctoral proposals. It's an imaginative way of, let's say, seeing research. So when we speak about doctoral proposal, we speak about the research that hasn't been done yet, that in the area that you already studied a little bit, you can indicate some things that you want to study and that hasn't been studied by other scholars, and you are going to contribute during your MPhil doctoral program or postdoctoral program in that area. It's a proposal, it's not the real research. So remember, you don't need to really stick to that proposal. Of course, your program, your founding will require not to change the topic, not to change the entire research completely, but you always can change research questions, you can reformulate them. While studying your material, you may find that your research questions are not realistic, they are not relevant for that type of material, or maybe there are some more interesting things that you will find in than you studied your material. So it's just the way how you will adjust your research questions in future. For MPhil proposal, Oxford website advise to mention only a couple of things. Imagine you write a really short thing of 500 words. So first thing that you should mention in your research proposal is the field and the subfield where you actually want to write a research. Then a possible topic what you see. You don't know what topic will be, but at least something more precise than the subfield. You should arrive to this. How you're gonna arrive to this type of things? Only by studying the secondary literature. I highly recommend to focus only on the most recent literature written in the last couple of years, if it's possible, or maybe 5 years. So then you really have the latest things in your field, and you will interrogate this research, these books, these articles. You will ask these articles and this research the questions. You will, let's say, agree and disagree with this type of research. So they are your main interlocutors. The recent research, not the research that has been done 20 years ago or 30 years ago. Try to focus in this proposal on the most recent things. Show that you know the most recent things in your field. This is important. And also show that you can contribute to advancement of the scholarship. How you gonna do it? First, you should indicate what is lacking in the scholarship on your topic. How? First, when you studied your secondary literature, 5 to 7 books perhaps that has been written in recent years, you may see that there is something very particular about them, something that they studied focus of study. Every book, every article has a focus of study. So it's maybe a very particular time period that has been studied, very particular issues that has been discussed, but other issues are not discussed, or maybe sometimes just left out for some reasons because of the scope of research, about maybe material doesn't give a clue about those issues, or maybe the research questions of those scholars were not, let's say, perceptive to some particular issues. For instance, in my field, I studied late antique biblical exegesis, commentaries on the Bible in late antiquity. Those type of research mainly focused on the literary studies and actually lacks any social or political dimension of that type of literature. So those books, those works of the ancient authors, always seen as something completely literary, completely theological or philosophical, but not as something that may also bear some ramifications of politics, ideology, or this type of things, sociological issues. So when you find out that the research of other scholars is lacking something, you may build on that. You may typically build on this type of lacuna, as I say. So I'll show you one thing. I very frequently show this thing in other videos. So this is lacuna, I call it. This is the hole in the scholarship that you are going to fill in with your own research. So the idea of research proposal is just to find out where the lacuna is and to fill it. You may see my videos about lacuna. I posted some of them, and on the way how to read scholarly literature in order to find lacuna and to really understand what kind of contribution you can make to fill this lacuna. But what exactly these people from Oxford were looking for when they say that they want to have in your proposal some account of current scholarship in your field, this is not just the rehearsal, let's say, of everything that has been done in your research, or just description of the recent scholarship. You should describe all the scholarship, all recent works, let's say 5 works published in recent years, in a way that you not only describing but also analyzing them at the same time. So imagine that one sentence you spent on just mentioning the topic and focus of a particular book, and then in another sentence you will say what is lacking in this book, what type of limitation this research has, and how your work can, let's say, contribute to overcoming this limitation. This is a wonderful way how to write this state of research or state of scholarship. Is just not describing your literature, but also saying what kind of limitation is in this scholarship and what you may contribute to really fill this lacuna, let's say, overcome this limitation with your work. So imagine that you one day can publish your MPhil thesis in some revised version, in the, not maybe the entire thesis, but maybe you can make a small article out of it, what I did with my research master thesis, for instance. So you can try to just really imagine what your research may be if it can be published. So if it's serious, so you really will try to find what is the real lacuna is in a scholarship and how your work can fill it. Maybe this is the very small let's say, small aspect that hasn't been studied, because MPhil thesis is a small piece of research, and you shouldn't think that you should do something really global here, but just try to do something minimal, something really answering a very particular small question, but something that may be transformed in a very interesting article in your field. Think about your thesis in this way and stay creative. The proposal, the Oxford website, then they describe what type of things they require for the proposal. They also mention research questions that you are gonna address in your thesis. These are maybe, God, neighbors. Sorry, it's bank holiday. God. Okay. Research question may be formulated after you analyze the scholarship, your secondary literature. Then you read your secondary literature, then you have found out where the lacuna is, and out of the lacuna you may also figure out what type of issues hasn't been addressed, and then you can formulate these issues as a question. Yeah, in my case, we can always ask what kind of bearings the idea of empire or imperial ideology may have on this type of literature, and so on and so forth. The Oxford websites also require some description of sources. Your sources also may be found through the analysis of the secondary literature. Then you figure out what type of history you would like to study. For instance, if you study visual history, so what kind of sources are there? Mosaics, frescoes, or is it architectural sources, or maybe it's miniatures, or what type of art you would like to study, or what period. It might be also a place, a particular, maybe it's a Pompeii, maybe it's Rome, maybe something in the east, Antiochian floral mosaics, for instance, or maybe something from Constantinople. So it depends on what type of lacuna you will find in the literature. I would really advise you just to think about what you would love to study and what the literature itself hasn't yet studied, but not just like the absolutely empty field, but there were some research on that field, but still there is some place for you to do some research as well. So think about the combination of your, let's say, your preferences, like personal favorites, and the things that hasn't been researched yet. Maybe there are some, let's say, connections between these two, and then if you find that there are some things that can be connected and can be researched, something that really interests you and something that hasn't been yet studied, here you may indicate absolutely, let's say, precisely what sources you will focus on in your research. You may not, of course, and you shouldn't, in the research proposal say what exactly what mosaic you will study in Pompeii, or what frescoes, or whatever. You may just say what period you would like to study, or what place you would like to study, if it's about visual art. If it's about a history of different types of period, always help. And so period and place, these are two things that is worth mentioning when you in your research proposal. It really helps because it makes things concrete. Also, if you're more like into biographies, so you may, and people, so you may also mention people, of course, concrete personalities, politicians, or maybe other intellectuals. If you're into into literature, always helps to mention a particular sources, like literary sources. Never mind what kind of sources, just again indicate either precise authors you would like to study, and the corpus, or maybe precise works of those authors, or maybe periods where the works were composed. So I believe this is something that we covered for that proposal thing. So if you have any questions, you are free to ask them in the comment section. Do remember that research proposal is your dream about future research. It's not the thing that you should stick to the death and you never should change it. Don't hesitate to discuss any changes you would like to propose to your research proposal with your supervisor. Then you get to the MPhil program. You will certainly encounter much more interesting things during your courses that you're going to have, and you may actually reformulate your research proposal, or maybe you change your sources that you're going to study, period, place, or people. Then maybe your research questions will be a little bit different. So remember about these possible changes that you can have. So if we divide those 500 words that the Oxford University recommends to write in the proposal, we can actually have the following scheme. So spend first 50 words on indicating your field and subfield where you're going to do your research, as well as the topic that you're going to study. It might be a very approximate topic, but more or less much more concrete than your subfield. Then spend from 200 to 300 words on your description and analysis of the state of research or state of scholarship. Here also indicate the lacuna that exists in the scholarship and the research question that you're going to answer in your research, your MPhil dissertation. And spend last 100 words or 150 words describing the sources that you are going to study. Try to be more or less precise here, but not really that much precise. That's all with me. If you have any questions, please use the comment section, and good luck with your research proposal. Tell me how it goes.